the Community Revitalization Advisory Committee. This is a special meeting that was called after our last meeting. I'll let Flo take over shortly to explain the reason why we're back together, but it should be we should be in and out fairly quickly. So if I can get a motion, before I do that, let's go through. I see that Jim is present, Simone's present, I'm here. We have confirmation that Cody would be couldn't attend tonight, and also from Kevin. Any news if Mary McCracken is going to be with us tonight, or if it's pretty much everyone's on board?
I believe this is it, Eric.
Okay, so I'd like to welcome Aaron and Owen, who is joining, and also Kathleen. So if let's just move on fairly quickly, because it's pretty much the same agenda as last week, if I'm not mistaken, right, Flo?
Yeah,
That's correct.
Okay, so do we still have to approve this agenda? It's already been approved.
We have to approve it.
Okay, so if I can get a motion to approve and a seconder, please.
on motion to approve.
Okay, Jim seconds. Okay, or it's pretty much all in favor now because we're all here. So if we want to just move on to, I'll just pass things over to Flo.
Okay, sorry, Eric, I'll just get you to ask if there's any conflict of interest.
Oh, yes, I apologize. Yes, is there any conflict of interest? Silence is everything in these meetings. So I take that as no. So then we've already approved the agenda, and now I'm passing it over to Flo.
Great, thanks, Eric. So Jim, did you have a chance to review the video from the meeting last week?
No.
Okay, so I'll give you a very high level summary of the discussion around the rebranding. And basically we had narrowed it down to kind of two top logo options, and one was In the Heart of Nature and the other was Beyond the City.
Yeah, I seen the update for prior to the meeting about that. Yeah.
Okay. So, and then Stephanie from Firedog also provided us with some conceptual logos that would allow us to better understand how the tagline would be used with a logo. Not necessarily that those logos were being proposed, but just conceptually. So those two options were brought back to the committee last week. In a nutshell, the committee felt that it didn't quite hit the mark, which is a common comment that we're hearing throughout this whole process. It's close, but it's not quite there. And so we did want to have input from the other two members before we go back to Stephanie and ask her to make some tweaks. But at the end of the day, or at the end of the meeting last week, there was some consensus around liking the In the Heart of Nature tagline with some tweaking. And we'll leave the tweaking to Stephanie, but that there was consensus that that was the most favorable tagline. So we want to throw that out to you for you to provide your comments, and then as a group, give me direction to take back to Stephanie. And if any of the members want to jump in and provide anything that I didn't cover from the meeting last week, please feel free.
I think Jim, like basically where I was coming from when I proposed and others agreed is like we're down to two. Basically, we're close, but we're not quite there. But like, you know, for us, we just barely had quorum again last week, so we really wanted your input on this. Cody, Simone, and I all had a chance to kind of you know, discuss it, and even Chris and some other people from the township had some great insight also. So really, it's like, you know, we're getting to the crunch where what do we want to start working on, right?
Right, yeah, not, I mean, I'm okay with the in the heart of the nature. My first choice, I think, would have been the other one, beyond the city or whatever, something about being away from the cities. But, I mean, they're both, I think they're both okay. But, like I said, I still like the idea of it. Um, You know, the concept of not being in a city or being far from one. But that's fine. Mhm.
And see, part of the discussion last week, and I was kind of swayed. I really didn't like that one, but Kathleen made it, a good point. And it's like, since, it's having these discussions that you start thinking of, like, you think of things differently, right? So
Mhm.
at this point, Flo, like, I don't know, could we just maybe send both of them off to Fire Dog and see what comes of it? Like, I don't know. You've been through this process before.
Yeah, absolutely. So we wanted to hear from Jim and Kevin to ensure that the direction that the committee was giving me was agreeable to everyone, and basically is to take one or two of those options back to Stephanie and ask her to tweak them. So in the heart of nature, there was consensus that it's close, it's not quite there. What can we do to work with it? And then we didn't really talk a lot about beyond the city at the last meeting, but certainly if that's a discussion you want to have tonight, I can bring that information back to Stephanie as well.
Okay.
How about this beyond the wilderness, or not beyond in the heart of wilderness too? Like I really liked, personally, I thought that was a better choice than nature for some reason. I don't know why.
I prefer that over nature myself, wilderness, because it means more like wildlife instead of just trees and mountains. Right, I think.
I'll just jump in there, guys. That kind of scares me. I'll tell you why. Because if you are a woman coming up here and somebody says, oh, you can live in the wilderness, you really have to think twice about that, right? And like, how much wilderness is there that you're expecting to live in? So it's just kind of like a scary connotation. In the wilderness, do you have power? Do you have a flushing toilet? Those types of things. So that was the thing that kind of, ticked me off. Well, not ticked me off, but like kind of made me think, like, do we really want to promote that? We've already got play in the extreme.
Hmm.
So it's kind of the same thing. Heart of wilderness, play in the extreme. How extreme do you want to get? Does that mean there's no toilets, no running water? Like, we have to project something so that everybody can be comfortable here. See what I'm following here?
Yeah, I see your thoughts on that, but I see it more in a positive way. That, I mean, like today, I was on the 614 and I seen a lynx run across the highway. And and a bear standing on the side of the road. Like, not that they're harmful, but it's just nice to see the wildlife. That's how I see it.
Yeah. My whole issue with it is that if somebody should see it and go, how wild is it? Do they have flushing toilets?
Yeah.
Is there running water? Those are the things that I'm thinking about, because we still want to attract people from the city and let them know that if they get here, that they can live in a semi-normal way and not live in like the wilderness and chop wood all the time. Not that we don't do that, but you know what I mean? Like, we want to say that you have running water and a flushing toilet, right? So that was my concern about the word wilderness.
When it was actually a staff member who watched our video last week, who stopped in to see me and asked me if we had ever considered using the word wilderness instead of nature. And I think my gut reaction, Simone, was similar to yours. But then after I started to think about it, I thought the word nature, in the heart of nature, is more passive, and it implies that you can just step out your door and you will be in nature. But the word wilderness, it implies that you need to have a bit more skill to be able to live comfortably in that environment. Whether it's being aware of your surroundings and that there is wildlife and you are going to encounter wildlife, and how prepared are you for that, to owning power equipment, power sports, and enjoying outdoor activities and outdoor adventure that way, or whether it's walking or canoeing. So it did make me stop and think that it is more, the word wilderness, I think, is more reflective of our community and the people who choose to call Manitouwadge their home, as opposed to a more passive approach to being in the outdoors with the word nature. So that's kind of where I landed at the end of the day when I heard both options.
I have to agree with you there. I think that if you move to Manitouwadge, you have to be prepared that you may have to chop wood. You have long, cold winters. And so, yes, I will agree with you. Absolutely.
Well, thanks for those comments. Or we all have different perspectives, right? So, and it's good to hear from everybody. I see some valid points on that side as well. Would anyone else, maybe from the township, Owen, Jolene, or maybe any of our guests, have anything to to add to that?
Eric, I like either one of those, wilderness or nature. I think they're both applicable. I think they're a closer reflection of what we're trying to portray than being away from the city. So I think we could work with either one of them. It does, which one, the artwork that goes along with it, and what you're going to portray along with the logo is going to project some image as well. We're also trying to promote the community that we have to live in, though, as well as the bush activity and the wilderness and the stuff around as well. We have an active community that we're trying to promote as well.
Yeah, and if we go to the route of like the nature trails, the walking trails, the ski hill, like the rec and everything else, maybe nature is the better route than the wilderness in that aspect.
Yeah, you can kind of pick your level of nature that you want to get into. Yeah. Thank you.
Eric, if you don't mind, when I heard "in the heart of wilderness," I actually got a little fuzzy feeling. I really liked it. When I hear nature, I think like a provincial park. I felt wilderness fits us better. We're in the heart of the wilderness. We're 54 kilometers in the bush. And I think that it gives a great opportunity to have a brand that represents us now, but it also gives us room for expansion. So, no matter what industry might come to us in the future, will give us, that opportunity. And so some of the key words that I think when I hear wilderness is, it can come across as, like Simone said, maybe a little bit darker, but for me, it brought, I think, peace and serenity, somewhere to explore. It speaks to like a resilience. I just really liked it. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Jolene. Would anyone else like the floor?
Just to add, Eric, to what Jolene's statement about the resilience, Flo and I had a conversation the other day, and that is a big part of the residents of Manitowoc is their resilience and self-reliance. And that you need that in the wilderness. So that is a comment that is reflective of the community.
It's just like an interesting question though too, of like, because when you're branding, it's sort of like what's your intention behind it too. So it's like if it's to attract people also to the community, but like I really do like the wilderness, and I think I appreciated the distinction between the nature and the wilderness. And I was also thinking about what Eric was saying last week about like the tourism branding, how you're saying there's already like a lot of this like play in the extreme, and so it's like trying to be mindful of the ways in which like your branding might reinforce or like kind of like put you into a specific type of specialty, I guess. But I think I kind of agree with Jolene. Like I don't think wilderness is just specifically about like extreme sports or about tourism. Like I think it can apply to other facets as well. So yeah.
Yeah,
Kathleen.
I think myself, the like wilderness is not used as often as nature, and it opens up, I think more, like I said, with the wildlife, as far as birds singing, and the actual wildlife. I don't know. To me, it's an attraction over the nature.
Can I jump in for a second, you guys? I was just thinking, you know how the other tagline was in the heart of nature? Maybe something more like into the wilderness.
I like it.
I feel
You
like
like
it's
it?
close to that movie, Into the Wild, Into the Wilderness.
Into the wild, yes, yes. Into the wilderness, because that's what you get when you come down our road, right? So just some thoughts there.
Yeah,
maybe
I really
Flo, you
like
can
that.
pass those on to Fire Dog.
Yeah, and just in the chats here, we got Aaron, who's I feel that wilderness is more intriguing. You want it to be catchy and enticing. Yeah, I think I agree with that. It's like for myself, wilderness. As soon as I seen it in the email, I'm like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. I think.
Yeah.
I know we're not all avid hunters and fishermen and all that, but every one of us here is taking something out of the wilderness. Either you're taking little hikes, you're looking for waterfalls, you're gardening too, because we got fertile ground here, or you're taking in like these nice projects, like of these walking trails and whatnot. Like I'm thinking all the stuff that we have on the horizon, and just circling back to whatever brand we're going to go with, whatever tagline, who cares? Let's just sell that and make sure we deliver that every single time. So are we kind of in agreement here, guys, that for Flo to go back to Fire Dog to work with, instead of nature, wilderness, even if it's a play, reshuffle the words per se? And are we just going to say goodbye beyond the city? I vote for bye-bye beyond the city.
I vote for bye-bye beyond the city.
Well, I was a big pusher for beyond the city over the nature, but now I prefer the wilderness for sure. It's just more of an attraction.
One thing that I noticed recently was the tagline for the municipality of Greenstone is nature's hometown. And geographically, we might be a little too close to them to be one in the heart of nature and the other nature's hometown. So I think that's another reason why we need to relook at that word, nature. Yeah,
I like what Simone said with what was it? Into the wilderness or into wilderness?
Into the wilderness,
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that.
not in the heart of wilderness, into the wilderness, because you literally are, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I really like that as well. And honestly, this is probably one of the first times that I can actually really say that I'm confident to get behind that an idea like that, because to me, that's what Manitouage is. Like, I'm always talking about, hey guys, you know, come on up, let's go hunting, let's go fishing, let's go out. Like, you know, my son's gone again to Sand Lake. He's gone on this quad with his friends. Like, you know, it's just like, and we can always tie into and work with the MEDC for the play in the extreme, right? I think it would go really well together.
Yep.
So, question for Flo: do you have everything you need from us to move things along?
I do, and I've also been sharing the videos with Stephanie so that she can get a good sense of the conversations that are happening around the rebranding, and with my summary, I think that she'll be able definitely to work with that.
Great. So that being said, any business arising here?
I just have one thing, just a quick note. We actually had a question from a member of the public who's been watching our videos, and she's asked what the background is of each of our members. So I thought it would be a really great opportunity for us to give a brief bio on each of the members, including our resource people, with a headshot. And we can post that information to our website, and I think that'll really help communicate who we are as a group, and why we want to be on this committee, and what we hope to achieve. So if you could all forward me that in the coming days, and Jolene and I will work on getting that posted to the website, and we can get back to this person and let them know that that information is available.
So just to be clear, we're talking about pre-COVID headshots, right?
I notice everybody's hair is up.
Not mine.
I'm working on the Movid beard.
I was debating having the video off for this meeting, but I figured like, oh, okay, I'll just keep it.
No, honestly, Florence, I think that's a fantastic idea. Most of the time, you want to know who your committee members are, who's speaking for you, whatnot, because I know for one, like, if I see a committee member or whatnot on the street, and, we have something to talk about, I know if I want something to come to the meeting, an idea or whatnot, I'm going to talk to that person, right? So kind of like when we reach out to our, to Mr. Moffat for any town business, right? So I agree. I have no problem with that. I think that's a fantastic idea.
Great.
So do you want that by just a little short paragraph and an email?
Yeah, that'd be perfect. And the headshot.
That's like a selfie?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's kind of like give us a deadline for this, and then maybe Flo, you can reach out to the other members, because I always work well with deadlines. So let's say we get that out to you by June 5th. Does that work?
That's perfect.
And everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Simone, you still with us?
I'm good with it, Eric.
All right, fantastic. So any other business, or was that other business?
That was it for me.
Okay, so then we have next meeting scheduled for Tuesday, June 16th. Does that still work for everybody who's present?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So that being said, unless Flo has something else, I'm gonna adjourn this meeting at 7:31. Can I get someone to motion and second?
Motion.
Motion, and then Jim second.
Sure, yeah, as long as
Okay.
Flo didn't have anything else.
Oh, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Good night, everyone.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.